Hey, welcome to Shri Views. It's been a while. I've made a few shorter videos about fragrances in the past, and today I want to talk about a specific note in a fragrance called Vetiver or Khas, like it's called in Hindi and Marathi. And there's 4 fragrances that I want to talk about today where the intensity of Vetiver is different in all those 4, and they remind me of 4 different things. And I go on 4 different tangents essentially. I could also title this video, I will now talk about Vetiver in fragrances for blank amount of minutes, which is probably what it's going to be. Let's get into it. One of the first fragrances I bought in my journey, so to speak, was this one, Missoni Wave. I wanted just a simple, fresh fragrance. You can see it's a blue colored bottle, so I expected, marine, aquatic, that kind of thing. But then the first time I sprayed it, I was taken by surprise. This is the genesis of this video idea as well. Generally, it's, there was this note that I was instantly familiar with that I didn't know about. So I had to look it up online, and it said Vetiver. Oh, Vetiver. Then I had to Google again what is Vetiver in Hindi and Marathi, and then it's Khas. Okay, now I know what this is. Yeah, this is very familiar to me, right? And also, you saw the blue coloration of the bottle, right? One of the things that I remember about Vetiver is it every time I saw it in stores or anywhere else, whether it be a juice or whether it be a herbal tonic, whatever, it's always green in color. So I didn't expect the Vetiver note to even be in this fragrance, Missoni Wave. The Missoni Wave smells like, if you know the ice cream called, in India they used to call it dolly, like a raspberry dolly, mango dolly, or in this case an orange dolly, if that exists. Outside is a popsicle and inside you have the vanilla ice cream. The combined effect is a very interesting thing, and it smells like that. It smells like orange and cream, and then the Vetiver sort of taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, by the way, I'm here. This is the most clean Vetiver note that I've smelled. And that's the thing, right? Vetiver can be this bright, effervescent, herbal thing, but it can also be a very dark and rooty, earthy note at the same time. Just depends on how you use it and how concentrated it is. I'm not a perfumer myself, but I would assume the Vetiver note in here is diluted, or they're using a particular sub genre of Vetiver, if you will, where it's clean and fresh, even kind of like a soap smell to it. But yeah, I won't move on to the next one. This one I had got a sample of it and I liked it so much that I bought the whole bottle, called Manera Viersensuel by Manera. Now this, definitely I mentioned Khas Sarbat earlier, which is Vetiver and sugar, sort of a drink that's made in the summer seasons. Usually it's very refreshing. It wasn't my go-to. Usually I just went with the usual lime or lemon juice, but Vetiver also was used in that way. I remember, again, off on a tangent, but this reminded me of my college. Right outside the railway station where my college was, there was this soda shop where they had different varieties of soda, and one of the sodas available was Khas or Vetiver, and it was again this bright green color, right? Kind of similar to the shirt that I'm wearing right now. That bright, again, none of these perfumes have that sort of green coloration to them. So again, I went looking for why is Vetiver green and what's the green color, and I got 2 different explanations. One was in the traditional method of producing this Vetiver oil, when they distill it out of the grass, it's the vessel that's used is a copper vessel, and so that's why it imparts a green color, which, okay, plausible, but I don't think so. And the second explanation that I got was a lot more plausible explanation, which was, hey, they just add green color to it because it's the grass initially is green, but then the natural color, because you have to dry the Vetiver grass first and then extract it using the steam distillation process. I'll add a link to this video as well. Apparently there's government programs as well to, if you want to start your own Vetiver business, at least in India. So anyway, I've had gotten, you can imagine how deep in this rabbit hole that I'd gotten with this whole thing. But yeah, that's what it reminded me of, Khas Sarbat. This Vetiver Sensual is very citrus heavy, different kinds of citruses in the opening notes, but then it's all balanced by this a little bit more intense than the prior perfume that I talked about, but more intense herbal, grassy, typical vetiver note that you can sense later on as it starts to dry down. And that's very interesting to me. And speaking of balance, the next I want to talk about is probably one of my favorite ones, a very popular fragrance called Grey Vetiver by Tom Ford. Now, while Vetiver Sensuel was playful and cheerful and sparkly, kind of extravagant kind of a thing, this one is a lot more mature and settled down, calmed down kind of thing, because the general gist of it is very similar. You have citruses and you have the vetiver, but whereas Vetiver Sensuel was enhanced citruses and vetiver was a little bit less, this one has a much fewer fragrance notes. I can put up the notes on the screen as per the online website that I usually look at called Fragrantica, and you'll see the notes in the Grey Vetiver. They're very more muted, very few but very effective, I would say. And initially I used to think, what if this is more about just the packaging and the marketing of it, right? If these bottles were swapped and I was blindfolded, would I still say the same thing? And when you smell them side by side, I do think so. I would catch a difference, because there is definitely again differing philosophies in this creation as well. One is, the Vetiver Sensuel seems to be more loud and projecting, and all these words that people like to use, central and all that kind of thing, where Grey Vetiver is a lot more calmed down. I would put a B-roll of a guy in a suit walking around, I guess a gray suit, right? That's kind of what it is like, because it's more staid, it's more mature. It's not loud, it's more up close and personal. It's about just you yourself will catch whiffs of that perfume maybe throughout the day for a few hours, and then that'll remind you or make you feel something. Yeah, that's Grey Vetiver. But there's one more, this last perfume that I want to talk about, and that's by Nishan. It's a brand from, I think, Istanbul or Turkey somewhere, and I just got a sample of this. I might never buy a full bottle of it because it's so potent and strong. This is the Sultan Vetiver by Nishan. This is the highest level. Now I have gone in an ascending order of intensity of the vetiver note here. This is a far cry from any clean, soapy, grassy anything. This is like, imagine you're an ant or a small insect in a forest full of vetiver grass, and you're also next to a lot of soft, wet earth and tree roots. That's what this smells like. That doesn't sound very appealing the way I describe it, but that's what it is. I'll post the notes in here. It's just top notes vetiver, middle notes vetiver, base notes again, but different kinds of vetiver. And once I looked it up, I didn't even know there were different kinds. I just thought vetiver was like a uniquely Indian thing. Right, it's just the grass, it looks like grass. You dry it, and like I mentioned earlier, you distill the oil out of it. But seems like it's across the Southeast Asian countries. There's different ones, and each, I guess, subspecies or subvariant or geographical variant of vetiver has a slightly different smell. One is more herbal and one is more darker, earthy, whatever. But I mean, Nishan, again, this is a statement piece. They've made a statement. Like, I opened the cap here and I can smell it right now. It is just, this reminds me of the vetiver oils, traditional. Before the perfumes, there's attars or oils that you can just apply, just a dab of it on your wrists or behind your neck or something like that. And that's kind of what this smells like. Very, very strong. This is not messing around, right? I wouldn't wear anything more than maybe even 1 or 2 sprays at the most of this stuff. So this is never going to get over, because it's maybe 5 mls, and there's still a huge amount of it left. And you'll see the color as well is just a darker yellow color here. And finally, also just each of the fragrances that I mentioned has its own, it took me to a completely different story or a completely different tangent every time. And that's, I feel like, the power of fragrances generally. It's sometimes certain smells or maybe even sounds, right? Things like that, they transport you to a certain time, certain place, a certain situation. And then if you wear fragrances, and not only do they remind you, but then you'll create new such associations with a particular smell as well as you keep wearing them more and more. I feel like that's a very interesting response. Just, I mean, I work in user experience, and I know it's kind of annoying to tie everything to that, but there's something to just the way it sort of, in a way, hijacks that whole thing, and you just immediately go to a particular time and place, or you imagine a particular person who would wear something like that, right? In the case of Grey Vetiver, for example, I imagine it's more of someone who is more mature, or it's not it's a more formal occasion, it's not an informal sort of a thing. And I can't even imagine who would wear Sultan Vetiver, if I'm being honest. And it's just, yeah, that's, if you want to, I guess, exude that aura, if you have the aura, like the kids say these days, if you have the confidence to wear something like that. But on the other side of the spectrum, like, Missoni Wave, this one again, it just, you can wear it every day. It's very clean and fresh, and the orange cream character, and then the vetiver to sort of balance it out. It's always that dichotomy of it, if you will. There you have it. 4 fragrances, journey, tangents, and one thread connecting all of it, the note of vetiver in these fragrances. I'd love to know everybody's thoughts and experiences with different fragrances, and how and what they remind you of when you smell something, or on other people, or when you wear a fragrance yourself. What's something that you're trying to project or be perceived as? And let me know what you thought about this as well. This was a very unstructured, or maybe semi-structured video where I talked about a certain topic for blank amount of minutes. So yeah, let's see if any of this or all of it is on the cutting room floor. I'll see you next time.